Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. I am Felris, sailing the seas of Raid Shadow Legends. Today, we have a very special, very important guest on the channel. It's BigPoppaDrock. Drock, how you doing today, man?
Hey, glad to be here. I don't know if I'm important, but excited to collab and talk some fun relic stuff. So this is actually going to be really educational for me too, because I've needed to take a look at this.
Yeah, today we are going to be telling you guys the best epic relics that you need to max. Relics are such a game changer in Raid Shadow Legends. What are the best ones? What are the ones that you need and you should use on your account? And Drock is going to be here to help us figure that out. So let's pull up the relic index here. And Drock, I'll give you the first pick. What is the most, or the best, I guess, relic that everyone needs to max, man?
Okay, well, so I think it's important to consider, are we talking PvP or PvE? And I feel like we should do both. Best overall epic relic, regardless of where you're going to use it. And in my opinion, the absolute best epic relic currently is without a doubt Erethi Coronet. This relic is so important in PvP, or excuse me, PvE for increasing damage. And if you can get this on a ninja, if you can get this on a Toshiro, if you're lucky enough to have him, really anybody that's putting out debuffs that's a damage dealer, their damage will skyrocket. And for stuff like Hydra and Chimera, this is a massive part of doing large scores. So for me, from the epics, there is no relic that I want more. I wish I had 5 of these things.
Fair. Yeah, I run this on my Calamitous along with Nature's Wrath, because it will stack with Nature's Wrath, which is kind of cool. And Calamitous with his recent buff is actually a Hydra monster as well as a Chimera monster, right? So I quite like this relic. It was the first relic I got to craft, so I was super lucky in that regard as well. And yeah, it's honestly made a difference in my Hydra scores and in my Hydra teams and everything. So yeah, I absolutely agree. I think you're right on, as well as the triangle and the circular gemstones. I really like the circular gemstones. We get a lot of them. Especially this one, Invigorated here. Turn meter increase effects are 10% more effective on the wearer, which is just good all around, right? Yeah, not only are you getting that kind of damage, but you're also getting extra turn meter fill. Like even the rares in the triangular, I like the Unbowed Might. Whereas crit damage increases by 3% for each debuff they are under, up to 30%. So you've got really good options even in the rares with the gemstone slots on these relics.
Yeah, for sure, without a doubt.
So next one, I guess, is my pick that I think everyone needs to max. Not going to be the Hatter's Reserve, but I do quite like this Preserved Aberration. It is new. And it is very niche, right? However, if you get this on the right champion, there are a lot of poisoners that actually deal quite a bit of damage. You know, I'm thinking like Badel Khazar, right? Or Corvus the Corrupted. It is good for PvE, especially, right? I don't think anyone's using poisons outside of Nell, maybe, in PvP. But I quite like Preserved Aberration as a relic. It gives you a little bit of extra damage from your poisoner.
Yeah, I think this is a great choice. I was just looking at this and I was like, I think this would be my next pick as well. So funny enough, we're pretty aligned here. I mean, you think about Azavia potentially having this. You could also look at someone like a Calvalax, who would be incredible with this. There are a lot of champions that do poison and do damage. And Ignore Defense, as we know, is valuable in both PvP or PvE. And I agree with you. I think this is more of a PvE type relic, but could be really, really impactful on the right champion. Certainly niche, right? Certainly niche. But even the stats that you get are really great for most of these damage dealers, where you're getting an attack boost, crit damage, an accuracy boost, which isn't a bad thing at all. So I really like it.
I did my first live arena relic craft earlier today. I got the Drought of Ire. I was really hoping for a Preserved Aberration, but got the Drought of Ire, and I was a little bit like, man, that's a bit of a letdown. But hey, that's okay. Yeah, what's your next pick? What should we all be maxing next?
This is a tough one. There are a couple solid ones I feel like still left, and I'm kind of torn between them. You know what I mean? Torn here. I think this is ultra niche.
Okay.
But its effect. No, you know what? No, I'm not going to go this direction. No, I'm changing my mind. I'm changing my mind, and I'm going in the PvP direction. I'm going to go with the Golden Elixir. Golden Elixir. This is, in my opinion, primarily a PvP relic. But this is surprisingly frustrating to fight against on people like Rotos, where their health will drop below 50%, but they get an immediate boost. They also get an extra turn, and they can potentially tank another shot. I have seen people, even like UDK and stuff like that, continually healing with this to the point where they are really, really, really tough to kill. So in my opinion, way more PvP than PvE. You could certainly put this on a PvE champion, but I don't think you're getting the same value that you would out of PvP. It is a sneaky good epic relic that when I run into it, always frustrates the living heck out of me.
See, I was lucky enough to craft one of those as well, and I actually use it on a primarily, or actually on my account, I don't use her in PvP at all, but I primarily a PvE champion, Elva Autumnborn. And because I'm still progressing in some content, you know, I can stick my Elva in there. She's tanky enough that she'll be able to tank a hit, and it'll actually keep her alive so she can heal herself up, get back to her revive, her cleanse, whatever else, and actually allow me to clear a lot of content like Hard Doom Tower that I wouldn't be able to clear otherwise. So I have to disagree that this is a primarily PvP relic. However, I can agree that everyone needs one and everyone should max one.
I love that. I love that you're getting use out of it in PvE as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great little relic here. The next one, I think we need to talk about. I mean, there are a couple good ones left, right? There are a couple good ones left. I gotta say, I'm not a huge fan of the Inferno Sphere, whereas resistance increases by 2% for every 5% of HP lost. Not a huge fan of that one, but I'm not a huge fan of the Hatter's Reserve either, except on HP nukers. I think that's where that's useful. But
I agree with that. I agree.
Yeah, but I gotta say, I think my next choice is the Demonic Effigy, whereas turn meter increases by 10% whenever one of their allies dies. It's a good little boost for your reviver, right?
Yeah, not a bad choice here, right? Like now I feel like we've covered the absolute, like if you're gonna max any of these are the best ones to do, right? If you don't have any of the legendaries or some of the mythicals, and now it gets a little tricky. Where some of these are like, are you really getting value out of this, or are you better off just kind of sitting around? And I think you're right. Like Demonic Effigy could actually be sneakily good on a reviver, right? Where if you have multiple allies going down, suddenly you're getting potentially a 20% with max turn meter boost every single time, and that can be really powerful. But it's like, is it the same level, right? Is it the same level of some of the other ones? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think there's only one more that actually, you know, would be even in the conversation as like must max. I think there's only one more. I want to see, do we agree on this? Do we agree on this one? So I guess, like, you know, now we're getting into the more maybe C tier relics. So
this is a tricky one, right? Because, you know, you look at something like Scroll of the Unseen where you're putting up a perfect veil and it sounds really good because it's up to 30% damage boost. But it resets after every turn, which is a really, really big downside when you compare it to something like Erethi Coronet,
right,
that just stacks for the duration of a fight. So it's really kind of outclassed there. There's one other relic that kind of makes me interested if built, it's gonna sound weird, but if you build your champions a certain way where it could be pretty solid, and that's the Moon Death Orchid, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, and so what's interesting about this is like where it deals pure damage equal to 20% of their attack to enemies that resist debuffs from the wearers, damage cannot be critical. Well, so the thing with this is like if you have a debuffer who you have built without accuracy, suddenly this could actually be a decent relic. You know what I mean? Like, is it outclassed by some of the other ones? Sure. But I'm curious, like if you had a max version of this and you're getting an extra potentially, what, if it's fully maxed 30, 40, it's 100%. Is that right? Yeah, it's an extra 100% damage equal to attack. You know, is that something that could be solid? It's tough to tell.
For sure. I mean, you're also getting speed from it, and you're getting 400 extra attack, right? So definitely a really good stat spread for this relic. And yeah, it's basically a souped up Phantom Touch, you know? Phantom Touch is still usable on, you know, a lot of nukers. But yeah, no, I think the Moon Death Orchid, I absolutely agree. And I think that's kind of, I mean, what does the Vulcan's Grasp do? I don't even know. Reflects 5% of damage absorbed by block damage or unkillable back to the attacker. I mean, I guess that's good on like a Geo for clan boss.
Yeah. Some of these are pretty rough. You know what I mean? Like you start getting into this, like, you know, Gilded Dragonstone, I guess if you have nothing better to just increase someone's defense, but the fact it only goes up to a maximum of 20% isn't really great. And also you'd rather stack HP than stacking defense. So it's not as usable. Orb Transfixion, like, look, stealing somebody's buff potentially could be good. You could maybe steal a stone skin, things like that. So that would maybe be the only other one that I would consider, but this, you know, it's not giving you any increased damage potentially, and maybe you put it on a support, but I just think there are better options, right? So yeah, I feel like it's rough after those first ones where you're not really getting a ton of value out of some of these, and I think we both know it's so hard to get the stuff necessary to upgrade these things. It's really tricky.
Yeah.
The only other one I'd maybe consider, I mean, it's not really that great, but maybe the Hatter's Reserve, I agree with you, if it's on an HP damage dealer, you get an extra potentially 10% damage increase. So that's not nothing. But again, it's like how hard it is to get it up there. Is it really worth getting only 6,000 HP and only 11% crit damage and then increased attack, which is not going to be useful, most likely, unless it's on someone like maybe a Rotos. And realistically, you'd probably rather have something else on a Rotos.
Yeah, like
right?
the golden elixir that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. So yeah, I think those are kind of the ones that make the most sense. You said you have an Arethi Coronet. Phenomenal relic. That one is so good. Like that is honestly, to me, that is the quality of a legendary relic, but in an epic. If you're lucky enough to pull that, absolutely worth maxing. 35% increased damage, you know, is just ludicrous over the course of a Hydra fight. So that, I'm glad we're aligned there that was our top
Yeah, I
pick.
mean, I also have it on my Ninja. Scroll of the Unseen, debatably also good on Ninja, but I mean, he's going to be stacking his burns and everything else. So I think Arethi Coronet is lucky enough to have two, apparently. Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably the best epic relic in the entire game. I mean, it's just so useful. And so useful across a variety of champions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. That is the one to go for if you're lucky enough to pull. So this is good though, because they just added some of these relics and I really wasn't familiar with them. I was looking at the kit for like Preserved Aberration and Moon Death Orchid. And I'm like, you know, where could these be used? And it is so funny because you have such a wide gulf, I feel like, between Arethi Coronet, which in my opinion is a class of its own,
right,
for epic relics, and then everything else. And like there are others that are really good too, but they're just not in the same realm of dominance.
Yeah, for sure. I absolutely agree with you. And the relics are so rare, especially if you're progressing through the game. The relics are so rare to get that you want to, I would say my advice for you guys who are watching this is invest in the best ones and trash the rest. That's my advice.
Yes. If anything, like the ones that are the rest, they are just your rank up materials.
Yeah.
That's how I use them. You know what I mean? I use them as my rank ups. It feels weird using an epic as a rank up, you know what I mean, for a relic, because you just don't. They are so hard to get, but realistically, you're better off using some of these worse relics to improve the better ones that you get, whether it's a legendary or epic or anything else, than you are trying to pump materials into it, given how hard they are to level up. And then, of course, we still have one more relic, I guess, faction, for lack of a better word, coming. So
yeah,
I'm really curious to see what they end up putting in there. Maybe there'll be some better epics in that one as well.
They have the potential here to expand the event relic. So hopefully we'll get some better event relics in there as well. That would be absolutely awesome. Looking forward to that. I'm curious to see if we'll still be able to craft the Cat's Gaze and Hatter's Reserve from the Royal or Regal masks or whatever they're called in other events. That would be a really interesting game mechanic if they decided to do that. Kind of a coin flip if they do, though. I can see that for sure. Well, Drock, thank you so much for being on the channel, for talking some relics with us. Hopefully the viewers have some idea of what they should invest their resources in versus not invest their resources in. Hopefully this video was helpful, Drock. It was so great to have you on the channel, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, man, my absolute pleasure, and looking forward to doing a collab on your channel now as well. So everyone will have to check that out. Or excuse me, a collab on my channel. This is a collab on your channel. Now we're gonna go on my channel and we're gonna talk rare relics. So funny enough, we're doing it backward. But yeah, I can't wait to have you on, dude.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'll see you over there. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I've been Felris, sailing the seas of Raid Shadow Legends. That has been BigPoppaDrock. We will see you in another video.